Hi guys, I'm Jim and this is J&R Woodworking. And today I want to show you this panel jig I have that I bought in 2003. It's made by Inline Industries. Jerry Cole is the owner. He designed these, he builds them and sells them all over, and he goes to a lot of the trade shows. Now when you first buy these things, you have to put it together. Let me tip you down so you can see a little better. That way you don't have to look at me. When you get these, you have to put the fence on. They're a couple inches large. You get yourself a nice blade. I bought an 80 tooth carbide tip Freud saw blade. Now I'm sure I pronounced that wrong, so somebody will let me know. You put your blade on, you put your panel on. The key already comes installed on it, and it's steel. It's not wood. It's going to wear out on you. Turn on your saw and you cut it. Then when you get the panel cut, you crank your blade up and you cut the end of the fence. This is a piece of maple that's adjustable, because as you cut different angles, you can loosen it up and slide it out and recut it, and then you have zero clearance again. You get that cut. You got your stainless steel scale on the side. I'll show you that a little closer in a second. You put the, Jerry tells you to put a piece of wood up against here and put a framing square in here and square this the best you can. It has, on the back side of this fence, has a block of wood with a set screw in it that hits up against a head of a screw right here. And you can tweak this thing in by turning that set screw. Then he tells you to get a piece of plywood, put it on here, and cut it 4 times and keep rotating it, your cut side against the fence. Then measure diagonally. Well, I tried that and that works pretty good, but there's a better way. You cut this thing 4 times like he says in his video, then you put it on here and you make a 5th cut. You cut a strip off of here and you hang on to that. And you can actually take that strip of wood and mic it. Now up here I have 171 thousandths. Down here I have 168 thousandths. Now that's over a distance of what? 3 feet by the time you stretch this thing out. You can tweak that in and get this thing perfectly square. Then you want to set your scale. Here's the scale. Stainless steel, it's laser etched. You got 4 screws on the side of the platform that holds the scale on. Now these lines are wider than you would think you need, but the reason he does that is so you can set the edge of your fence so it just touches this line. It splits the line in half, or it totally covers the line. Whatever you prefer, you can do it. I have mine so it just comes up and touches the line. Now you notice he has this laid out for all of us dummies that don't really understand angles that well. He's got it all the way up to 50 inches, 50 degrees, sorry about that, down to 0. He has it laid out so if you want to make a picture frame, 4-sided, he shows a 4-sided box here. He's got the number 4, and inside the box is the angle you need, which is 45 degrees for the corners. Down here he shows a 5-sided. with the number 5. It shows the picture with the degrees inside that tells you what you need. It goes all the way up to 18 sides. Now, if you guys out there that are making these wedgie sleds for making your rings to glue together, stack up for your lathe turnings, you don't need them. Because I understand the wedgies you have to buy to set your 2 fences on your sled are quite expensive. With this, you don't need that. I'm going to cut another ring and show you how easy it is to do. Now, when I bought this, I got it in 2003. I used it for making a lot of picture frames. I'll show you some over here that I've done. It didn't take me long to realize I made a mistake when I bought it. And in 3 years later, I think it was 2006, maybe 2007, Jerry came back to Grand Rapids to another tool show, and I went back over there. Bunch of guys standing around watching him demo this sled, and he was making boxes. And when he made them, he would tape them together and hand them out. My wife was with me. He gave her this one. This is one we watched him make. This is all the angles. He even cut the plywood bottom and put in them. And he would just pass these out. Well, at the later tool show, he still makes these, but he gives them to his wife, and she paints them, and then they sell them, which I can't blame him a bit on that. But I got up, I finally worked my way up to him, and I said, Jerry, I bought one of these sleds, and I made a mistake, you know, so now we got all these guys that are standing around, they're listening. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, when I first started using this, it didn't take me long to figure out what I did wrong. I didn't buy them both. So when I went back over there, I made sure I came home with the other one. Now the way these are built, they have these adjusting knobs on here for your fences. But you can also take these out, and I bought a strip of aluminum, 1/4 inch thick, 1.5 inches wide, that I lay on here. I put these knobs back in. Now I have one big sled that I can cut large panels on. You have a built-in stop that either flips around and you can use it for short stuff, or you can flip it around and stick it out here 53 inches from your saw cut. So if you want to cut, I don't know what, panels I guess that big on this thing, you can repeat and do every one the exact length with this built-in stop. I want to cut another ring to stack on top of here and show you how nice and easy this thing really works for cutting. I'm going to set this on 6 for that 6-sided ring. I'm just going to come up and touch the line. And I'm also going to set this one. Now I have a little sample around here I keep, and I do this on picture frames too. It just speeds the process up a lot for setup. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I want to just cut the end at 30 degrees. I guess I'll turn the dust collector on. do is I'm going to take this sled, I want to set my stop. I just put my sample piece on there, set my stop, I have to move this camera because it's in my way. There. Put that piece in there. Cut it off. Now you can just flip it over and keep going if you want to. You get all six made. Or you can work back and forth and use both sleds. When I do picture frames, I use both sleds. I'll show you why in a minute. Now I get out my expensive clamping system here. I fold the end over a little bit, and I'll show you why in a second. And just line these up on here best you can. Now it's that simple. Take your other ones, stack them up there and glue them. No wedgie. Now this little piece I folded over, that's my little handle, so I can pull it off, put the glue in the joints, tape it back up, and let it dry. Now you can do picture frames, you can do your lathe turnings, you can do anything on this sled, and you only need one sled. Let me show you some of the other frames that I've made. I'm going to cut a piece on a 45 so I can show you what I always hear when I go to some tool shows. Shopsmith is excellent for this. I went to 3 or 4 Shopsmith demonstrations, I guess just for a good laugh. And he'll take a piece of wood, 2 pieces of wood, he'll cut a 45 on both of them using his miter gauge. He'll hold them together and he'll say, look at that, a perfect 45. Well, how do I know that's a 45? Could be a 40. And yeah, his angles fit together pretty good, his joint, because it's only got one joint. Let me show you some frames that I've made with this thing. Here's a picture frame I just threw together. I've got a small frame, four-sided, another small four-sided one. I've got an 8-sided frame here. I've got two 12s over here. Now these are just taped together. I don't have them glued yet. Then of course we got our stack that we're working on. And here's one I got glued together. Now let me show you the joints on these things, because a lot of times when you go somewheres or they're demonstrating something, they'll say, yeah, look at the joints on this frame. And that's all they're going to show you. Well, let's take a close look at them and see what the cracks look like. How does that fit? That's all four sides, and they fit perfect with no gaps because of this fixture. Now we're going to let's make another 8x10 picture frame. I've got some stock over here I whipped up the other night. It's just some scrap wood that I was going to get rid of. We got this one on a 45 already. We're going to put this one on a 45. Now there's several ways you can measure to get your length right, your sides. As far as putting it on one sled and then flipping it around, I don't like doing that because they'll tell you in Jerry's video, when you cut from the inside of your picture frame and cut to the outside, he calls that cutting with the grain. And when he cuts from the outside to the inside, that's when you get a lot of splintering and chipping. He calls that cutting against the grain. Why he calls it that, I don't know, but that's the way I do it, and the frames come out perfect every time. We're going to put a 45 on the edge of this piece of trim. Got your zero clearance, so you don't really need to measure. Now, I need two sides that are 10 inches on the inside of the rabbet for the picture to fit into. So I'm going to stand this up. I'm going to make a 10-inch mark right back here. Maybe I'll go 10 1/32. Now to set up your stop for cutting your other side, you got zero clearance. So that mark you just made, you want to line up with the edge of your sled. Move my stop in. Move this one up here out of my way. Cut this side. Now I'm going to cut the angle on the leftover piece. Cut my second 10-inch side. I'm going to do the same for the 8-inch side. That's a bad piece. I'm going to make my mark at 8 inches. Get my tape measure to cooperate. Set my stop up. Let's move over here. Now I don't want to shut this off because I don't want you to think I've switched pieces on you. And we're going to tape these together. It always seems to go slower when you're trying to hurry. Now remember, these are just taped together. But look how nice all the joints look. No cracks. And let's see if we got the size right. 8 inches. 10 to 32nd. It's just that easy to make picture frames. Now if I was making a dozen, which would actually be easier almost than making one, once you get your stop set, it don't take any time at all to whip out 6, 8, or 10 picture frames. It's very simple. You got to stop on both of these. Let me turn this a little bit. This slides right out of here, and you can put it in the other way, and that's how you get your 53 inches sticking out from your saw cut. Or if you don't want to use it, it stores in there and you turn it backwards. It's out of your way. This is a great system. I really enjoy it. This big black ugly thing that's in the way, that's my dust collector. It slides down, covers up the blade when I'm ripping plywood, so sorry about that. I really think if you could try one of these out, you'd really like it. I can't say enough good about them. If you do a lot of picture frames, if you do a lot of bowl turnings, this is really the thing you want. If you're just going to use it for like a wedgie, I would suggest one would be probably all you're going to need. This is my original from my old Craftsman saw. I just use it on here so when I cut stuff, it doesn't fall down and get caught on the side of the blade. It stays up so it's level. You can make this out of your own MDF. Just go down and buy a piece. I think this is 1/2 inch, and make a couple pieces of your own. They do come with the little clamps that clamp on under these knobs. It's a little toggle clamp, and it has, he says, about 40 pounds of force. This one fits on the other hand. The other one's over there somewhere in that mess. But it keeps your fingers away from little small pieces. Now if I was going to make another ring to go on top of that one, I would put my clamp on, because that one was short enough by the time you get it on here with your stop. So if you're in the market for a good cost cut sled, check these out. Go online and check out Jerry. I'll put his description in, or his name of his website in the description below. He explains this much better than I do. If you can't find him, or you don't really see what you want, I have 3 of his tapes. That one came with this that shows how to set the Dubby up, and the other 2 are for making boxes, and he really goes into detail on how to make the boxes and how to cut the bottoms so they fit in properly the first time. So any of these videos you'd like to see, I can record them with this tablet off the television, and I'll upload them and let you watch them. If you have any questions on this sled, feel free to shoot me an email and ask me anything you want. You send me your phone number, I'll call you, and we can talk about it. I don't think you'd be disappointed if you buy one. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are subscribed, check me out on Facebook and share some of these videos with your other woodworkers or your other fixer-up guys on this snapper series I've got. And I guess that's it. Work safe, have fun, and we'll talk to you soon.